Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Lay aside, abandon, or leave for another. Switch to a different brand of beer. Control consisting of a mechanical or electrical or electronic device for making or breaking or changing the connections in a circuit. Reverse, a direction, attitude, or course of action. Cause to go on or to be engaged or set in operation. Switch on the light. The act of changing one thing or position for another. His switch on abortion cost him the election. An event in which one thing is substituted for another. Make a shift in or exchange of. First Joe led, then we switched. Exchange or give something in exchange for. Change over, change around, as to a new order or sequence. A basketball maneuver. Two defensive players shift assignments so that each guards the player usually guarded by the other. A flexible implement used as an instrument of punishment. Flog with or as if with a flexible rod. Hairpiece consisting of a tress of false hair, used by women to give shape to a coiffure. Railroad track having two movable rails and necessary connections, used to turn a train from one track to another or to store rolling stock. Lay aside, abandon, or leave for another. The car changed lanes. Cause to change, make different, cause a transformation. The discussion has changed my thinking about the issue. Exchange or replace with another, usually of the same kind or category. He changed his name. An event that occurs when something passes from one state or phase to another. The change was intended to increase sales. Become different in some particular way, without permanently losing one's or its former characteristics or essence. Her mood changes in accordance with the weather. Give to, and receive from, one another. Would you change places with me? Become deeper in tone. His voice began to change when he was 12 years old. Change from one vehicle or transportation line to another. She changed in Chicago on her way to the East Coast. A difference that is usually pleasant. It is a refreshing change to meet a woman mechanic. A different or fresh set of clothes. She brought a change in her overnight bag. A relational difference between states, especially between states before and after some event. He attributed the change to their marriage. A thing that is different. He inspected several changes before selecting one. Change clothes. Put on different clothes. Coins of small denomination regarded collectively. He had a pocketful of change. Money received in return for its equivalent in a larger denomination or a different currency. He got change for a 20 and used it to pay the taxi driver. Remove or replace the coverings of. Father had to learn how to change the baby. The action of changing something. The change of government had no impact on the economy. The balance of money received when the amount you tender is greater than the amount due. I paid with a 20 and pocketed the change. The result of alteration or modification. There were marked changes in the lining of the lungs. Undergo a change. Become different in essence, losing one's or its original nature. She changed completely as she grew older. lay aside, abandon, or leave for another. The act of changing one thing or position for another. Move sideways or in an unsteady way. Move around. Change place or direction. The time period during which you are at work. Geology. A crack in the Earth's crust resulting from the displacement of one side with respect to the other. Make a shift in or exchange of. Move abruptly. A loose-fitting dress hanging straight from the shoulders without a waist. An event in which something is displaced without rotation. The key on the typewriter keyboard that shifts from lowercase letters to uppercase letters. The act of moving from one place to another. His constant shifting disrupted the class. A qualitative change. Move very slightly. He shifted in his seat. A woman's sleeveless undergarment. A crew of workers who work for a specific period of time. Change gears. You have to shift when you go down a steep hill. Change in quality. His tone shifted. Change phonetically as part of a systematic historical change. Grimm showed how the consonants shifted. Move in exchange for another. Shift the date for our class reunion. Move from one setting or context to another. Shift the emphasis. Use a shift key on a keyboard. She could not shift, so all her letters are written in lowercase. Control consisting of a mechanical or electrical or electronic device for making or breaking or changing the connections in a circuit. Control consisting of a mechanical or electrical or electronic device for making or breaking or changing the connections in a circuit. Be an understudy or alternate for a role. Reverse, a direction, attitude, or course of action. Do something in turns. Serving or used in place of another. Go back and forth. Swing back and forth between two states or conditions. Occurring by turns. First one and then the other. Someone who takes the place of another person. Every second one of a series. The cleaning lady comes on alternate Wednesdays. Exchange people temporarily to fulfill certain jobs and functions. Of leaves and branches, etc. First on one side and then on the other in two ranks along an axis, not paired. Stems with alternate leaves. The act of flipping a coin. Look through a book or other written material. Reverse, a direction, attitude, or course of action. An acrobatic feat in which the feet roll over the head, either forward or backward, and return. Cause to go on or to be engaged or set in operation. Sports. The act of throwing the ball to another member of your team. Lightly throw to see which side comes up. I don't know what to do. I may as well flip a coin. Turn upside down, or throw so as to reverse. Flip over the pork chop. React in an excited, delighted, or surprised way. He flipped when he heard that he was accepted into Princeton University. Marked by casual disrespect. A flip answer to serious question. Go mad, go crazy. He flipped when he heard that he was being laid off. throw or toss with a light motion. Flip me the beach ball. Toss with a sharp movement so as to cause to turn over in the air. Cause to move with a flick. A dive in which the diver somersaults before entering the water. A sudden, quick movement. With a flip of the wrist. Hot or cold alcoholic mixed drink containing a beaten egg. Move with a flick or light motion. A backless sandal held to the foot by a thong between the big toe and the second toe. Reverse, a direction, attitude, or course of action. A decision to reverse an earlier decision. A backward somersault. An electronic circuit that can assume either of two stable states. Reverse, a direction, attitude, or course of action. Mutual interaction. The activity of reciprocating or exchanging, especially information. The act of changing one thing for another thing. There was an interchange of prisoners. Give to, and receive from, one another. Put in the place of another. Switch seemingly equivalent items. Synonyms can be interchanged without changing the context's meaning. Reciprocal transfer of equivalent sums of money, especially the currencies of different countries. He earns his living from the interchange of currency. Cause to change places. Interchange this screw for one of a smaller size. A junction of highways on different levels that permits traffic to move from one to another without crossing traffic streams. Gear for a horse. Reverse, a direction, attitude, or course of action. Turn into the wind. The sailors decided to tack the boat. Nautical, a line, rope or chain, that regulates the angle at which a sail is set in relation to the wind. Nautical, the act of changing tack. Create by putting components or members together. He tacked together some verses. Sew together loosely, with large stitches. Fix to, attach. A short nail with a sharp point and a large head. Fasten with tacks. Tack the notice on the board. Sailing a zigzag course. The heading or position of a vessel relative to the trim of its sails. Cause to go on or to be engaged or set in operation. Throw the lever. Convey or communicate. Of a smile, a look, a physical gesture. The maximum movement available to a pivoted or reciprocating piece by a cam. Organize or be responsible for. Have, throw, or make a party. Cause to be confused emotionally. Put or send forth. Get rid of. Be confusing or perplexing to, cause to be unable to think clearly. Place or put with great energy. Utter with force. Utter vehemently. Throw accusations at someone. A single chance or instance. He couldn't afford $50 a throw. Bedclothes consisting of a lightweight cloth covering, an afghan or bedspread, that is casually thrown over something. Casting an object in order to determine an outcome randomly. He risked his fortune on a throw of the dice. Cause to fall off. Make on a potter's wheel. Move violently, energetically, or carelessly. Propel through the air. Throw a frisbee. The act of throwing, propelling something with a rapid movement of the arm and wrist. The catcher made a good throw to second base. Throw, a die, out onto a flat surface. To put into a state or activity hastily, suddenly, or carelessly. Throw the car into reverse. The act of changing one thing or position for another. An event in which one thing is substituted for another. Act of changing the lineal order of objects in a group. Complete change in character or condition. The permutations taking place in the physical world. The act of changing the arrangement of a given number of elements. A person who follows next in order. An event in which one thing is substituted for another. The replacement of lost blood by a transfusion of donor blood. Filling again by supplying what has been used up. The act of furnishing an equivalent person or thing in the place of another. Someone who takes the place of another person. A person or thing that takes or can take the place of another. An event in which one thing is substituted for another. The act of putting one thing or person in the place of another. He sent Smith in for Jones, but the substitution came too late to help. Any abnormal position of the organs of the body. An event in which one thing is substituted for another. The act of reversing the order or place of. Electricity. A rearrangement of the relative positions of power lines in order to minimize the effects of mutual capacitance and inductance. He wrote a textbook on the electrical effects of transposition. Genetics. A kind of mutation in which a chromosomal segment is transferred to a new position on the same or another chromosome. Mathematics. The transfer of a quantity from one side of an equation to the other along with a change of sign. Music. Playing in a different key from the key intended. Moving the pitch of a piece of music upwards or downwards. Change from one system to another or to a new plan or policy. Make a shift in or exchange of. An equal exchange. Exchange or give something in exchange for. Move a piece of a program into memory in computer science. An equal exchange. Exchange or give something in exchange for. Engage in the trade of. An equal exchange. Steady winds blowing from east to west above and below the equator. They rode the trade winds going west. People who perform a particular kind of skilled work. As they say in the trade. The business given to a commercial establishment by its customers. A particular instance of buying or selling. I had no further trade with him. Turn in as payment or part payment for a purchase. Trade in an old car for a new one. Exchange or give something in exchange for. Do business. Offer for sale as for one's livelihood. The skilled practice of a practical occupation. He learned his trade as an apprentice. Be traded at a certain price or under certain conditions. The stock traded around $20 a share. The commercial exchange, buying and selling on domestic or international markets, of goods and services. Venice was an important center of trade with the East. Exchange or replace with another, usually of the same kind or category. The act of changing one thing for another thing. Adam was promised immortality in exchange for his disobedience. Give to, and receive from, one another. Put in the place of another. Switch seemingly equivalent items. Reciprocal transfer of equivalent sums of money, especially the currencies of different countries. Exchange a penalty for a less severe one. A workplace that serves as a telecommunications facility where lines from telephones can be connected together to permit communication. The act of putting one thing or person in the place of another. Sports. An unbroken sequence of several successive strokes. Change over, change around, as to a new order or sequence. A mutual expression of views, especially an unpleasant one. They had a bitter exchange. A workplace for buying and selling, open only to members. Chemical process in which one atom or ion or group changes places with another. Chess, gaining, or losing, a rook in return for a knight or bishop. Black lost the exchange. Chess, the capture by both players, usually on consecutive moves, of pieces of equal value. The endgame began after the exchange of queens. Hand over one and receive another, approximately equivalent. Exchange prisoners. The act of giving something in return for something received. Deductible losses on sales or exchanges of property are allowable. Change over, change around, as to a new order or sequence. Someone who maintains and audits business accounts. A mechanism that controls the operation of a machine. The speed controller on his turntable was not working properly. A person who directs and restrains. Handle and cause to function. Control the lever. Exercise authoritative control or power over. Control the budget. Lessen the intensity of. Temper. Hold in restraint. Hold or keep within limits. Control your anger. A standard against which other conditions can be compared in a scientific experiment. The control condition was inappropriate for the conclusions he wished to draw. Place under restrictions. Limit access to by law. This substance is controlled. Discipline in personal and social activities. She never lost control of herself. Be careful or certain to do something. Make certain of something. Control the quality of the product. Maintain influence over others or oneself, skillfully, usually to one's advantage. She is a very controlling mother and doesn't let her children grow up. The state that exists when one person or group has power over another. Check or regulate. A scientific experiment, by conducting a parallel experiment or comparing with another standard. Are you controlling for the temperature? Great skillfulness and knowledge of some subject or activity. A mechanism that controls the operation of a machine. The speed controller on his turntable was not working properly. Have a firm understanding or knowledge of. Be on top of. Do you control these data? A relation of constraint of one entity, thing or person or group, by another. Measures for the control of disease. A spiritual agency that is assumed to assist the medium during a séance. Physiology. regulation or maintenance of a function or action or reflex, etc. The timing and control of his movements were unimpaired. Power to direct or determine. Under control. The activity of managing or exerting control over something. The control of the mob by the police was admirable. The economic policy of controlling or limiting or curbing prices or wages, etc. They wanted to repeal all the legislation that imposed economic controls. Verify by using a duplicate register for comparison. Control an account. Change to the contrary. To break and turn over earth, especially with a plow. Turn the earth in the spring. Twist suddenly so as to sprain. I turned my ankle and couldn't walk for several days. Pass into a condition gradually, take on a specific property or attribute, become. The weather turned nasty. Cause to move around a center so as to show another side of. Turn a page of a book. Undergo a change or development. The water turned into ice. Let something fall or spill from a container. Turn the flour onto a plate. Cause a plastic object, to assume a crooked or angular form. The strong man could turn an iron bar. Undergo a transformation or a change of position or action. We turned from socialism to capitalism. Pass to the other side of. Turn the corner. Have recourse to or make an appeal or request for help or information to. She turned to her relatives for help. Turning or twisting around, in place. A favor for someone. He did me a good turn. Change to the contrary. The tides turned against him. Game. The activity of doing something in an agreed succession. It is my turn. A short performance that is part of a longer program. A circular segment of a curve. Sports. A division during which one team is on the offensive. A time period for working, after which you will be relieved by someone else. A movement in a new direction. The turning of the wind. An unforeseen development. Events suddenly took an awkward turn. The act of changing or reversing the direction of the course. He took a turn to the right. Go sour or spoil. The cream has turned, we have to throw it out. Accomplish by rotating. Turn a somersault. Alter the functioning or setting of. Turn the dial to 10. Become officially 1 year older. She is turning 50 this year. Cause to change or turn into something different. Assume new characteristics. The princess turned the frog into a prince by kissing him. Cause to move along an axis or into a new direction. Turn your face to the wall. Cause to move around or rotate. Turn a key. Change color. In Vermont, the leaves turn early. Change orientation or direction, also in the abstract sense. The mugger turned and fled before I could see his face. Channel one's attention, interest, thought, or attention toward or away from something. The pedophile turned to boys for satisfaction. Direct at someone. She turned a smile on me, get by buying and selling. The company turned a good profit after a year. Move around an axis or a center. The wheels are turning. Shape by rotating on a lathe or cutting device or a wheel. Turn the legs of the table. Taking a short walk out and back. We took a turn in the park. The act of turning away or in the opposite direction. He made an abrupt turn away from her. To send or let go. They turned away the crowd at the gate of the governor's mansion. The side of a coin or metal that does not bear the principal design. Reversed, turned backward, in order or nature or effect. Cancel officially. Change to the contrary. The trend was reversed. An unfortunate happening that hinders or impedes, something that is thwarting or frustrating. Reverse the position, order, relation, or condition of. The gears by which the motion of a machine can be reversed. Turn inside out or upside down. Directed or moving toward the rear. Rule against. A relation of direct opposition. We thought Sue was older than Bill, but just the reverse was true. Turning in the opposite direction. American football. A running play in which a back running in one direction hands the ball to a back running in the opposite direction. Of the transmission gear causing backward movement in a motor vehicle. In reverse gear. Handle and cause to function. Do not operate machinery after imbibing alcohol. Perform as expected when applied. Perform surgery on. The doctors operated on the patient but failed to save his life. Direct or control, projects, businesses, etc. Perform a movement in military or naval tactics in order to secure an advantage in attack or defense. Keep engaged. The topology of a network whose components are all connected directly to every other component. The act of interlocking or meshing. An open fabric of string or rope or wire woven together at regular intervals. Contact by fitting together. The meshing of gears. Coordinate in such a way that all parts work together effectively. Entangle or catch in, or as if in, a mesh. Keep engaged. The number of openings per linear inch of a screen. Measure size of particles. A 100 mesh screen. Work together in harmony. A restraint incorporated into the ignition switch to prevent the use of a vehicle by persons who do not have the key. Place in a place where something cannot be removed or someone cannot escape. The parents locked her daughter up for the weekend. Enclosure consisting of a section of canal that can be closed to control the water level, used to raise or lower vessels that pass through it. Hold in a locking position. He locked his hands around her neck. Keep engaged. A strand or cluster of hair. Become engaged or intermeshed with one another. They were locked in embrace. A fastener fitted to a door or drawer to keep it firmly closed. A mechanism that detonates the charge of a gun. Any wrestling hold in which some part of the opponent's body is twisted or pressured. Become rigid or immovable. The therapist noticed that the patient's knees tended to lock in this exercise. Build locks in order to facilitate the navigation of vessels. Fasten with a lock. Lock the bike to the fence. Hold fast, in a certain state. He was locked in a laughing fit. Pass by means through a lock in a waterway. Consume all of one's attention or time. Carry out or participate in an activity. Be involved in. They engaged in a discussion. Engage or hire for work. Give to in marriage. Carry on, wars, battles, or campaigns. Engage for service under a term of contract. Keep engaged. Engage the gears. Hire for work or assistance. Engage aid, help, services, or support. Ask to represent. Of legal counsel. Get caught. Make sure the gear is engaged.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.